Hey, what's up, guys? It's Checkmate Flips. We're here with Side Hustle Experiment. Side Hustle Experiment, if you guys don't know, he has been selling books for a long time. He actually has been in the transition to online arbitrage for quite a while now. Last year, Restock Limits hit him and I extremely hard. It made our lives really difficult. And if you guys don't know, Restock Limits happened again recently. So we're just going to talk about restock limits and kind of our progress in the last year or so, and kind of just celebrating some of that time, and some tips also for you guys who are struggling with restock limits. So John, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so what were restock limits like last year for you?
So last year was like, I actually made a video the other day talking about restock limits. I made I used to talk about all the time on my YouTube channel, and I finally made a video. I was like, I'm not talking about it anymore. I'm just gonna do online arbitrage and forget it.
Except for this video, right?
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, I'm making an exception. So yeah, it was pretty rough. So basically, I have a bulk business book operation. I'm kind of transitioning out of that, pretty much all finished, not getting any more books. And basically everything was going great. We had like a little scare like before when the pandemic happened and Amazon didn't want people to send books in. It's only healthcare items and no big deal. It only lasted, I think, about a month. Not terrible. But then when they introduced restock limits because they're having trouble getting warehouse help. They were kind of just focusing on units that are pandemic related because that's what people are buying the most, like food and stuff like that. So they needed to, one, like clear out their warehouse, and two, limit the flow coming into the warehouse. So they instituted restock limits. So I think I had about, at the height of it, maybe 15,000, able to send like 15,000 books. When I first started, there was no cap. Like if you had a good IPI score, you had unlimited storage, like no big deal. You could send whatever you wanted, and that was that. But I went down to, I think it went down to 10. I had about 6,000 books, I think, active at the point. Then it went down to 10. I'm like, all right, that's not really like a big deal. And then it was, I don't know if it's going to be like this till like last time, but last time it was like kind of, it changed. It like ebbed and flowed. So
Oh
like
yeah, they did.
it
They
kept
did it
going
several
down.
times.
Yeah, they would give you like, they'd drop you like a couple thousand and then give you like 100. It was like ridiculous. So then they dropped me to about like 7,000. And I was like, huh, all right, like getting a little like tight here. And then it went down to about 5,000. And then it went to 4,000. So I remember I had to remove like 1,200 books just to clear space to get a new shipment out. And then I was like, damn, this is so tight. So then I started implementing merchant fulfilled. I really do not like doing merchant fulfilled. It's just not what I want to do. And yeah, so it just basically, probably in the span of 4 to 6 weeks, it basically dropped all the way from like 15,000 all the way down to about 4 or 5 ish.
That is absolutely wild. I remember Mondays were the day that it would get updated. It was
Yeah.
just like, am I gonna get screwed over again?
And then there was one week they did it twice. They like did it like a Sunday, like Wednesday or something. And oh my God, it
Yeah.
was so bad.
Yeah. And the problem, I'll explain why restock limits are such a problem for booksellers, because if you have no cap on your restock limits, like you can just send those books in, and like if they sell in 10 months, if they sell in 3 months, if they sell in 16 months, whatever, you made your huge, massive ROI. But if you have to be so specific about what you send in and try and get these books that aren't usually typically the fastest sellers to sell quick enough to actually raise your restock limits, it's pretty hard to make things work, especially if you have a big overhead like you had the warehouse and like
Yeah.
employees and like big bulk operation like connections. It These restock limits just made it so difficult to do things in the whole book world. Even people today, like I've seen, there was one guy who had like 6,000 books active, and they cut his limit to 3,700. So he won't be able to send in any more books until he gets under 3,700. Just
Yeah, someone actually asked me the other day, like, what happens in that case? Is you either have to sell to that inventory, which probably going to be hard because I'm guessing most of that is kind of stale inventory, or you have to remove it, create a removal order, remove it back to you, or you could dispose of it to Amazon, and they probably just sell it themselves. But that helps them clear out the warehouse and make space because it forces you to make a move and get rid of your inventory or fire sale it or whatever.
yeah, I was actually in a pretty similar situation. Not that many books, but I had 2,700 and they cut me down to 16. So I was trying to do this full time, just cherry picking, and that made it pretty hard. Like I had to like raise my ASP and then fire sale a bunch of stuff. But yeah, what was your reaction to this when this happened a year ago versus like kind of how it is now? I know we were talking a little off the camera before about it.
Yes, I feel like it didn't surprise me. Usually when Amazon does something once, they do it again, especially if it's in their favor. So it doesn't surprise me at all. With Q4 coming up, it's a busy, busy season. They want the Christmas stuff, they want the toys, they want things that are going to sell quickly, and they want their staff checking that stuff in. They don't want them checking in, stuff that's going to be more long tail, like books and stuff like that. Obviously, they're going to check that stuff in, but they really want to force people to send inventory in that moves. I know 𝗬𝗏, he always says, Amazon's not in the storage business. Like they do not want to store your stuff. Like they want you to send it in and then they want to send it out as quickly as possible. So yeah, it should be interesting to see. I know a lot of online arbitrage sellers. I don't think a lot of them will be affected that much. Your like ASP is like, I don't know, pretty high, or my items that I'm buying are probably like $20-$30 each. So like times that by 5,000, like that's a lot of money to be
Yeah.
spending. And plus you also have to realize too, I do think it forces, this is one of my theories last year, that Amazon kind of wanted like more shoes and apparel. Because if you looked at the breakdown, it will show you that like you get standard units and you get 1,000 shoes and then 1,000 pieces of apparel. So it's broken out differently. So I think like some people would be like, oh, I'm full, like I still have money. Then like it's like, well, I guess I'll buy some shoes and apparel.
What is that warehouse? INDY1 really wants shoes. That they really want shoes.
Yeah, oh my God, they
Or-
lose, and clothing too. They lose a lot.
Yeah, I've heard that that warehouse just is losing so many shoes and apparel items. Amazon wants stuff that's going to sell through quickly. They want that warehouse wants shoes, but for majority of the time, nothing happens like that. Yeah, they want stuff that's going to sell and sell quickly. And so it's hard because like books is a great business model. Like you get to make like 5,000% ROI on like a lot of your items, and it's absolutely ridiculous. And it's a great model. It's hard to adjust when Amazon wants it to be a different way. So your adjustment was, I'm going to do probably for a while it was I'm going to do books and online arbitrage to increase your limits, or did you immediately make another account to sell OA stuff on?
So I already had a second account, which I was selling like used DVDs and CDs on. So I had a book account and then a CD and DVD account. So I decided to put all the OA stuff on the CD and DVD account and kind of move all that stuff to the main account. To have two Amazon accounts, you have to be selling like different items. So I wanted to be able to track easily the online arbitrage. And the easiest way to do that was to put it in a separate account, that CD and DVD account. So that's what I ended up doing. And yeah, I just started. So what you have to do really is like, I immediately did merchant fulfilled, started that, like figured out how to do that process. You could get a software called Scanlister, and basically it prints merchant fulfilled tickets for you. And then you kind of have to get them on a shelf and organize them. And then when a customer buys it, you have to ship it to them instead of Amazon. So what happens is you have to basically, I think I dropped the rank. It had to be like under 500K rank and like selling pretty good for me to even consider sending it to Amazon. So like one way to increase your restock limits, or this was the case the last time around, is to increase your sell-through rate, because they're going to give you more space if you could like prove that you're going to move more units through. So like if you, let's just say you had 10,000 units and you removed 5,000 of them and like sold the same volume, your sell-through rate would like skyrocket, because it's now based off of 5,000 units versus 10,000. So you have to send in stuff that sells like really quick movers. A lot of the stuff I ended up just merchant fulfilling because it was just easier than, it's hard to predict like what will sell, what won't sell. And when you're doing bulk, like you got to move quickly. Like you can't really scan it, like look at like a 𝗬𝗂 or like try to figure out, you just got to like be moving. So like the best thing to do is kind of really knock down what you're sending in, really just limit it to like fast moving good stuff, and then merchant fulfill the rest. And yeah, it is definitely a harder time for booksellers. I know like media mail rates went up. So if you're merchant fulfilling, that definitely hurts a little. Amazon increased the fees, so that hurts a little. And while you're making like a lot of margin on books, it's also a lot of work. So some people, I think my cutoff was about $1 that I'd want to make, because at some point it just doesn't make sense. There are some really big booksellers that are willing to make a quarter. Some that are even willing to lose money on books just to like keep the inventory moving, keep their account healthy and stuff like that. It's definitely a difficult time for booksellers. I mean, it's definitely a good place to start. Well, Amazon will probably open the limits again, I'm sure, after the holiday, but you just never know.
Yeah, so thinking about how restock limits happen this time, let's say there's someone watching this that got hit really hard by restock limits. Maybe they had over the 1,000 and then suddenly they're back to 1,000, or maybe they were trying to go full time with books and then they're discouraged now because their restock limit is 1,000 or 1,500. What advice would you have for them?
So I would say you kind of have to make a decision. You have to decide whether or not, like, I do think books is feasible. It all depends on what you need to make too. Like if you're doing this full time, like obviously you probably need to make some money, or more than someone who has a full-time job. So yeah, I would probably right away go through your inventory, probably get rid of anything that's been there for like over 270 days, maybe even 180, or just really reprice it like aggressively. Give it a week, and if it doesn't sell, then like either dispose of it to Amazon or take it back to your warehouse or wherever you're working and kind of list the merch fulfilled. One workaround that was kind of working is people were buying things to sell that would sell really quick. So if you were a bookseller and you bought a grocery item at like Walmart that would sell instantly and you were like losing a quarter on it, then your restock limits would shoot back up because the sell through was so quick. But then Amazon kind of caught on and would lower the limits like the week after. So kind of bottom line, like Amazon like doesn't really play games like that. They're not all about that. But yeah, I would say, yeah, get rid of all the stale inventory, reprice more aggressively on that stuff, then get rid of it. And then maybe consider, I know, a different model. I mean, I was always, as I pretty much exited books at this point, I was kind of being like, oh man, like the ROI on some of this stuff, like, because it's textbook season right now. And it's like, damn, like some of the books, like you're selling for like $150, $200. You're like, can't believe or like you're selling high end eBay stuff. But then it's just like, what a disruption to the business that, like, at any one time, I mean, there were booksellers that went out of business, like really, really big players who Amazon was they had hundreds of thousands of units, and Amazon's like, you can only have like 20 or 30 now. I was very fortunate that like I have an upstairs in my warehouse that has full shelving. Like if you don't have like shelving or something, or bookcases or whatever, or the space to like house like all these books, you're going to be in real trouble. So I like the idea of doing online arbitrage now, because I don't think Amazon's really going to mess with that at all. And most of the stuff you're doing online arbitrage, you're not really trying to buy long tail stuff. Like you're buying stuff that's going to sell within like the next 30, 45, 60 days. And then, yeah, you want to just kind of move it along. And then another tip, if you're going to go the book path, which I did, or if you're going to go it, is like when you get textbooks and stuff like that, you don't want to send those to Amazon FBA. You'll probably want to wait till like the next textbook season to kind of save spots, because that's going to hurt your sell through. And then the more you're sending there, the less you could send there later. So you really want to be sending stuff that's going to sell right away anyway.
That's super helpful. And if people want to learn about how to do online arbitrage, Side Hustle Experiment here has a YouTube channel. Make sure to give him a subscribe. You have a lot of videos of you just like in the trenches looking for an item fresh, like 20, 30, 40 minutes of like raw footage of you just looking for stuff. Really, really good content. I would definitely recommend it. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on, John.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is great.
Yeah. Have a great day, guys. Take care.